Hi, Kathryn here with Circle Art Designs. Today on the mat, I will be working on Project 3 of our April Bargain Bead Box series. This will be a piece I call Love's Blooms. It will be painted chandelier butterfly earrings and a matching bracelet. I love the colors in this. So let's turn our eyes to the mat and get started. So as I sit down at my work table, the first thing I see is this beautiful mat that says, Simply Grateful. I love this sentiment. It is something that I have always tried to teach my children, and I've tried to live by being grateful to the Lord for everything that comes into my life. The one thing I have told them is, you always want to live your life every day grace-filled or grateful. So today I am grateful for our home group that we had last night and all the amazing reports of God moving in the lives of this little family of people that have truly become a family through their love of our Lord Jesus. And that's what I'm grateful for today. How about you? What are you grateful for today? So, for the earrings for this butterfly chandelier from the Love's Bloom, we are going to paint them with alcohol inks. I did not get a picture of them before I had painted them. So here they're already painted. These will be painted and distressed chandeliers. That's at the very top. Moving on to the right, we will be using the pressed glass flowers from the Bargain Bead Box of April. We've used these before. We will also be using the Peridot green iris rondelles, and we have also used those, and I have to tell you, once I finish this project, I still have some left. And that will be from the April Bargain Bead Box. Again, from the April Bargain Bead Box on down, you will see the leaf bead caps from the Bargain Bead Box for April. And then right in the middle, you will find these lovely, I had them switched. So right in the middle are the leaf caps from the April Bargain Bead Box. And over to the right are the light rose bicones. These are also from the April Bargain Bead Box. And then down below, on the very right-hand corner, you will also need some 11O seed beads for this. I have pulled from my own stash an 11O copper fantasy or copper magic or magic copper. I have seen this under both names by two different brands, but I really love these. And up above that, we've used these before in some earrings we did last week. These are 11O dark beige sea beads in a luster, and I love them. Moving on up from there, you will see some head pins. You will need either a 2 to a 2.5 head pin for these, because we are making quite long dangles for these chandeliers. And you will also need ear wires for these. I did not put out, whichever you choose. For these, I use silver-plated fish hooks on them. And you're, of course, going to need tools like wire cutter, a looper, if you would like to use that. That's what I will be using. A straight nose plier, whether you use the looper or not. And you will also need chain nose pliers for jump rings. And that, I think, is everything we will be using. Excuse me just a moment. Sorry about that. I'll try this again. Felt like I had a frog in my throat. I had to go get me something hot to drink. But anyway, we will also need for the painted and distressed chandeliers, we will need not only alcohol ink in the colors you would like. If you're doing this at home, I'm using indigo and I'm using a yellow, indigo blue and a yellow. But you'll also need some alcohol, a very small tipped brush, paintbrush, and a paper towel or napkins or something that you can rub and distress with. And I used a piece of paper to protect my work area, and I used a little tile like you would stick on the wall to put my alcohol ink on. And so we're going to get started with painting these chandeliers. So I picked up these chandeliers off of Amazon. It came in a large collection of different chandeliers, and I just love these butterflies. It will be a 3-dangle chandelier, and here I am showing you my alcohol ink in the indigo blue, and that will be what I start with. These chandeliers can be painted, and I will paint them on both the back and the front. I feel like I'm rushing today because I didn't get it done yesterday because, again, we had a problem with our internet. But here we go. Shake up your bottle really good and then go ahead. Oh, my hands are shaking today. Sorry about that. And you will, did not get the tile on, but I put just a single drop of the indigo blue. And here I have a 70% alcohol in the little lid. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint the wings only of this butterfly. Now I am going to end up putting 2 or 3 coats of the blue on because I want to distress the chandelier a little bit. In fact, I want a lot of the silver to show through, but I want that hint of blue. So in order to distress it, just like you would if you were painting on ceramics, you're going to go ahead and paint your coats, and this alcohol ink dries really fast. And once you have got them on and it dries completely, then we'll go to the next stage of distressing these chandeliers. But so you don't have to watch me do this over and over again, I'm going to just go ahead and put it on the outside of the wings. On this one, I am trying very hard not to touch the body of the butterfly itself. So I'll do this one, and then I will come back when I switch to the next color. So I've got the blue on the butterflies, that indigo blue. I tried, you'll see up in the top, orangey red. I did not like that. That reminded me of 4th of July. And so I have put this beautiful yellow out, and I'm painting the lower wings. I'm sorry I've let this little butterfly get too far down, but I'm painting the lower wings with this orangey yellow. And again, I will put several coats on it. Now, the one thing you have to be careful with a coat whenever you're doing this is not to paint so much that you end up just wiping off what you've painted. You really do have to let it dry between coats, and I'm really bad at that. I will go, oh yeah, that's a bad thing to do. But usually by the time you get it on one side and you've moved your thing and painted it on the other, it is dry. Now, the other thing to note whenever you are working with this alcohol ink is it dries really fast. The alcohol evaporates. But the beauty of this is if you have used some type of palette that you can put it on, you can just go back and add a little bit of the alcohol to it, and it revives, just like when you're doing watercolors. You have those dried out little blobs of watercolor on your palette, and you go, well, I'm going to have to do something with that. But just like with watercolor, when you add some alcohol to the ink, it will refresh it. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the backs, and I will see you when I'm ready to distress. All right, the butterflies are finished. Oh, come on, Kathryn, get your hands back up. I'm sorry, I had put it up to make it a close, and I just fell off the radar. I am taking actually it's a piece of toilet paper. I'm sorry, but it's what was on my work table. But a napkin, anything soft will work. And I am rubbing the color off. Now I am going to rub most of the color off on mine because I want a lot of the silver showing. Oh, please get back in. There you go. But rub off as much or as little as you would like. It's totally up to what you like to do. And it's just a rubbing motion, a gentle rubbing motion until you rub as much off as you would like. Now then, if you get to a point where you go, oh, I rubbed too much and I really want more on there. There you go. I really want more on there. Well, just go back and paint with the alcohol ink, let it dry, and don't be as aggressive the next time. So that is what I'm going to do for both of these. And I'll see you in just a moment. There you go. I finally remembered that I had pulled it up, and I thought I was in camera, but I was not in camera. So there you go. Isn't that pretty? I love distressing pieces. I love it whenever I work on ceramics, and I love dry brushing. I love it when I work on polymer clay and you dry brush and distress your pieces. And I just love the look. A little bit of color and still your silver or your gold should shine through. Okay, now I'll meet you in just a minute. And we're back. I'm still distressing here, but I wanted to take a moment and say, would you please like and add a comment for this video? And if you haven't subscribed yet and hit the notification bell, would you please do so? It really does help. And then you will be notified when we get new content. Thank you so much. Now then, what I have done here is I have put just a tiny bit of alcohol on my piece, and I am just fine-tuning where I want the blue and the yellow to show and where I want that silver to show. And it will just, like on your tile, it will make it liquid and easier to wipe off in the crevices. And I believe that this is going to be my finished product. Now, isn't that pretty? Now, I did an added step here. I took some clear nail polish, and you can use UV resin. I am allergic to UV resin, and I only use it when absolutely necessary. But here I am just adding a very thin coat of clear nail polish, and I will put it on both sides of the chandelier. This is not necessary. Alcohol ink adheres to your metals, but because the butterflies are the main part of the chandelier and will be held quite a bit, I wanted that extra protection on here so I didn't have to worry about it coming off. So again, this is just clear nail polish. I'm going to allow it to dry. I'll flip it over and do the other side. And when this is through and dry, we will be ready to start putting these chandeliers together. Here we go. All right, I've cleaned off my workspace. I've put down my mat onto my regular table as opposed to all the thing I was trying to save. And I'm showing you the luster beads I am using in the 11Os that were in the supply list, and then these, which are called Magic Copper or Copper Fantasy. And don't mind the red marks on my arm. That was where my daughter's little dog with very large claws loved me a little too much. All right, here we go. But before we get started, as I'm putting this out, would you please like and subscribe to this channel? It really does help. And if you would like and leave a comment to this video, that would be amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, I think we're ready to get started. We're going to take our head pin and then we're going to add one of those dark luster beige seed beads and then a bicone and then our flower. I know it doesn't look like that that's where I'm starting, but it is. Here I am going, well, maybe I like the green better, but we really are going with the bicone. So once again, starting with the middle dangle, we're going to put the dark luster beige seed bead on and then that lovely light rose bicone. I am not going to use that bead cap there. I just could not make it work. So I'm taking that off and I'm going ahead and put on the pressed flower and then the bead cap on the top. Hi everyone, I'm back. I know you didn't know I was gone, but I did. I was beginning to have a hard time concentrating and I realized that I really needed some protein. And so now I'm back. Now in this next step, we're going to put on 9 seed beads in that magic copper. These are 11 O's and this is going to be the center of our chandelier. And on that center, we have a beautiful little open flower. Now on the outside of the chandelier, we're going to put buds. So we're going to start with that dark luster, 11O, then we're going to put on bicone, and then we are going to put on another 11O, but this one will be the copper. And then we're going to put on those beautiful peridot rondelles, a bead cap, and then this time we will be adding 6 of the magic copper. So again, we have the 11O and the dark beige luster, a bicone, a 11O in the magic copper, your green rondelle, a bead cap, and then 6 of the seed beads. Oh, I looked up, I distracted myself. Okay, so we're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. Let me see if I can get you a picture. Okay, I pulled this off of the video. I'm sorry it's a little blurry, but here we go. In that center dangle, starting at the bottom, again, it'll be 11O dark luster beige seed bead, and then we'll go to the light rose bicone, then the pressed flower, then the leaf bead cap, and on top of that we're going to do 9 of the 11O magic copper seed beads. Now for the 2 outside dangles, if you'll look at the photo, you'll see, again a little blurry, that it is a 11O dark luster beige seed bead. Then we're going to do the light rose bicone. Then an 11O magic copper seed bead. Then that peridot green faceted rondelle. Then the leaf bead cap. And then 6 of the 11O seed bead in the magic copper. And that is all there is to it, to the dangles for this butterfly chandelier. All right, we're picking up where we left off. We're doing the other side of the chandelier, and here are both of them. Again, the real difference with these are the length, because each side will be slightly shorter than the one in the middle. And now if I can move all this around and pick up my loopers right here, I put it in, I keep it straight when I mash the handles, and then I turn it back a little bit. And that should give me a beautiful question mark. Now, once I've got that question mark done, as with other videos, but this time I'm going to slip on my chandelier. And I have put what I want to be the back of the chandelier where I'm closing that dangle. So the front has no closure on it. And it hangs just like that. Isn't that pretty? And it won't give me added length, but it also will control the amount of movement I have. If I had put a jump ring on, it would give more movement. But I decided with this one, I would go ahead and just put the dangles directly onto the chandelier. And I'm sorry, my fingers have moved out of the way. Now it's a little hard to get these closed, or at least it is for me, whenever I put them directly onto the chandelier, because I want to make sure that that circle is completely closed. You know, when you're working with a chandelier like that, the little circles you are putting it through are usually pretty thin. They're not bulky. And you want to make sure that there is not even the tiniest gap. Again, through the looper, push the handle, it's straight up, then push it back, and that should make a question mark. That question mark will go right onto the chandelier, and then I use a combination of my straight nose pliers and my straight nose pliers to close up that loop on that chandelier. And I think these are just beautiful. Oh, I love painting. I love doing distressing, and I love chandeliers. They are my very favorite, if you haven't guessed already. And let's see if I can get it in. There you go. And that is the finished one, ready to go. And now we're going to do the next one. And through the magic of video, we have both of them, and it's time to put on our ear wires. For these chandeliers, I am going to use fishhook ear wires, and I am also going to use 2 of my oval jump rings. Now, before I do that, I want these chandeliers to face front, so I'm turning the little circle right there, making sure that it's closed, because if you don't turn it, your earrings will face to the side. And a lot of people like that, but I grew up where the earrings face to the front. Is that tell you my age? And so my daughter says, Mother, you can listen to your voice and tell your age. But anyway, yes, I'm going to go ahead. I've opened the jump ring with a twist of 1 wrist between 2 chain nose pliers. I've put that jump ring on, and now I am putting on my ear wire. And I am using fishhook ear wires. I think I call them fishhook. I'm not sure. And what I was checking as I was making sure that the front of this earring is the one that does not have the closures showing. And that's how I decide on something that has both sides the same. If I'm not doing it where it can spin and it doesn't matter, then I always check and make sure the closures are on the back. And so that's one. Then we're going to open it up again with just a twist of 1 wrist, just like that. Keep it nice and steady on the other side, checking to see which one is the front. Putting that on, then I'll go ahead and put on my fishhook, and I'm going to close it up, and these will be ready. Let's see here. Oh, remember, always feel, and that's what I just did, to make sure it's closed. Now, aren't those pretty? I just love them. Now it's time to go on to the bracelet, and this is our supply list for the bracelet. So there won't be any butterflies in this bracelet, but once you see it finished, you will see how perfectly it goes with these drop earrings, these beautiful chandeliers. And so for the very top, you see the soft flex. I am using a medium in a steel gray of the soft flex. And on around the corner, you will see a little jar, and in this little jar I have 3mm spacer balls. I will use those. Below that you will see an extender chain. I'm using this 2-inch extender chain because this will be up in the shop and I want it to be available to a variety of wrist sizes. Then going across and up from the extender chain or across from the 3mm spacer balls, I have taken out my number 2 crimps in silver. Across from that, you will see my lobster claw clasp, and down from that you will see the jump rings, because you're going to need some jump rings for this one. And then we're going to match up with a lot of the different beads that we used in the earrings. So in the picture, you will see that I have those peridot green iris faceted rondelles from the April Bargain Bead Box. That's the same thing we used in the earrings. But the next one I have listed is a light rose crystal round bead. This is a beautiful bead. It is a 9.5mm. And it was really just a statement bead. I love it. And so I've added this into the bracelet. Then the next little circle that you see will have those light rose crystal bicones that we used in the earrings. And then from my own stash, I have added a 6mm crackle spring green and pink round bead. I've used these. I got a very large stash of them last year, and I've used them in several different things. I usually pull them out in the spring and summer, and I have them in many different colors, and I just love them. So we're adding that. I think it will lend a beautiful touch to this bracelet. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and pull me out some of the wire guards. Wire guards are not necessary, but I like them because the lady who taught me to do bracelets and work with beading wire always talked about it saving the fraying of the wire. So sometimes I use it and sometimes I don't. I've pulled out 2 in silver. Then I pulled out some of my number 2 crimps. I'm putting on a 3mm spacer ball. Then I'm putting on my crimp, and now I am putting on my wire guard. Now this wire guard is shaped like a U, and you're going to put it up through the tube on one side, around the top of the U, or an N. It could be a printed N, and then down the tube on the other, then through the crimp, and you're going to tighten it up, that crimp right up against that wire guard. Now the thing to remember is do not let your wires twist. Now I have actually put on 2 of the 3mm. On this one I usually only use 1, but I did do 2 for this particular bracelet. These are crimpers, and for this type of jewelry making, I think crimpers are really necessary. I put it in the back hole and it flattens it out and makes an M. Then I put it in the front of the crimper, turn it half a turn, and mash that M together. And what that does is it closes it and secures secures it, and then you can go ahead and cut your wire. Now I always push the one I'm going to cut away from what I'm doing and then hold my finger between the other so that I don't crimp the wire that I'm going to be beading on. Now I will tell you a little later on, I get tired of messing with that wire because it is longer than I normally do, and I move them down and I cut it just a little more so it is inside the bead. So next goes on the peridot, and then I'm putting on one of the copper, and then I will, and it looks just like that. Isn't that pretty? I get so fast. My daughter says, you should speak faster, Mother, because, you know, it takes you a long time to say things. So I go, okay, yes, I know. We were actually talking about doing shorts. I said, I don't know how people get all that information in 60 seconds, but they do. And she says, well, that's because you need to talk faster, Mother. But anyway, so now I put on the crackle. And then I'm going to put on another one of the magic 11-0s. And I will be putting on an 11-0 at the beginning and end of every one of these beads to give it a little space. And that way, when it is on your wrist, the 11-0s give it the space they need so it can move and bend and turn without the beads rubbing on each other. And you know, there's the potential of fraying when you do that. And here it is. I've gone, yep, I have had it with that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that down a little more so that it will actually be inside that second bead. So let's get that done, and be very careful if you do this. This is the point. If you're going to start over, this is the point you want to start over. And you see how it lays really flat now? So it's the rondelle, the crackle 6, the light rose in the 9.5 millimeter, then another crackle. And remember, I'm putting a seed bead between each one of these to give it the space it needs and the ability to move without rubbing on your beading wire. So now we have put, the next one is a rondelle and then a bicone with the seed beads between. So it looks just like this. Isn't that pretty? And then we're going to pick up with that peridot, which is in the green, a seed bead, your crackle, and then your large 9.5 millimeter. And this is a picture of the way it should look. And let me see if I can get a picture for you. So starting at the one end, we're going to go ahead and put on our wire guard, and then you'll have a crimp, and you're going to crimp it. Then you'll have 2 3 millimeter spacer beads. And then if you want to think of it as a component 1 and a component 2, component 1 would be a green rondelle, your crackle in spring green, your 9.5 millimeter faceted round in the light rose, another crackle, and that would be the first component. Then your second component will be a green rondelle, your bicone in a light rose, and a green rondelle. And then you'll start over with the crackle in the spring green, which will end up being that first component. Spring green, crackle, the light rose, and the crackle. And then the second component of rondelle, bicone, and rondelle. And we're going to carry this through until the bracelet gets to be the length that you want it to be, minus about a 1/2 inch, depending on where or how big your closure is going to be on the bracelet. So like when I cut my wire at the beginning, if I want a 7.25 bracelet in inches, then I will cut that out with 2 added inches. And the 2 added inches are for getting on the wire guard and on both ends and having enough to pull it tight, but not too tight, because you want it to still flex, and being able to finish up the ends and get them ready to receive the closure. And that is where we're starting. So this is what I've got finished so far. I'm measuring it on my bead to see exactly where I am and how much I need. And I am going to go ahead and knead the rest of this. So I'm going to just finishing up, and here it is. This is the finished piece, ready to have the end closed off. So now then, I have got my 2 spacer balls, and I'm going to go ahead and put a crimp on after I finish counting this out to make sure it's exactly where I want it. And then I will put on the wire guard. Now you might notice that I have a really long wire I'm using this time, and that is because 2 or 3 projects ago when I used this color, I didn't cut enough. And so I had to roll it back up on the spool, and I went, well, I'll just do bracelets or something else with it. And that's what I'm doing right now. And the leftover that I had, it went right back on the spool. And that's why I didn't show you cutting the wire in the beginning. But now I've got this wire guard on just like before. I'm putting it through my crimp and through several of the beads. I have actually taken this all the way down through the last crackle bead that I put on the bracelet. Now I like to put in my straight nose pliers as leverage, and then I will go ahead and pull on it, and I will make sure that it's not too tight but tight enough, and then I will go ahead and crimp using my crimping tool for this bracelet. Now, can you use your chain nose pliers and crimp? Yes, but I have known those not to hold over time. So if I would say anything, if you're going to be using beading wire, I would invest in crimpers. I don't always use the crimpers, but for anything that's going to take a lot of wear and tear, I use my crimpers. All right, now that it's crimped, I'm going to go ahead and hold that just the way I did before, where I pull it away from to the side of where I want it, and this bracelet is ready for its finishing touch. So for the finishing, and here I'm showing you it does bend. I didn't get it too tight. And there are my jump rings. I'm going to open my oval jump ring, and I am going to put first on one end of my bracelet, and then I am going to put on my lobster claw clasp, and with the twist of the wrist just on one side, go ahead and close it. Because remember, I had to learn the hard way that the metal has memory, just like when I work on ceramics. And once you bend it the wrong way, even when you think you've got it back, whenever you least expect it, when it's the most important, that metal will remember that you twisted it the wrong way. And so now this bracelet has a clasp and an extender on it. And this could be called done. But when I need to put an extender on, because I'm selling it and I really don't know what size the wrist is that this is going to, I will go ahead and put a bead charm on it. And I think I've got that earring in, but it isn't. It's, fall it. There you go. So this is what the set looks like. And so let's go ahead and finish up with a bead for this bracelet. Just that beautiful bead. I'm putting it on a small 24 gauge. Oh, my brain just left me. I see the picture. Okay, so I put it on a small 24 gauge head pin, and then I've put on one of the magic copper seed beads, then the crackle bead, and then another magic copper. And now we're going to do that rolled down loop. Now when you do this, make sure you cannot feel it on the top of your straight nose pliers, and you need to have a 24 gauge head pin that you can get at least 2 complete turns on. If you can get 2 complete turns on and you have moved that all the way down to your bead, it should hold your bead without coming off. Now then, for this one, because I can see where the opening is on the chain, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my pliers, and do you see that little, I don't know if you can see it, but there is just like with a jump ring, there's that little slit. And so I'm going to take my curved nose pliers, I know I call it straight nose a lot, and my straight nose pliers, and then I'm going to open it up so that there's a consistency in the look. I'm going to slip on that bead, and then I'm going to close it back up. And not only do I not need another jump ring, but now I have it secured with a consistent look because I'm using the chain link in the extender chain. Now isn't that pretty? And that is the complete set. I love it. Aren't those earrings lovely? Isn't that a beautiful distressed look? And remember, if you're doing this at home, you can put on as much of the India ink or take off as little as you want to. It doesn't matter. And as long as you haven't sealed them, you can go ahead and do it several times until you really get the look you want. And look at that bracelet. Now, doesn't that look like a spring garden? That looks exactly like the roses and that pink that bloom just beyond my fence. I love it. Just beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today on this beading adventure. I'm sorry I didn't get something out early in the week. You know, life happens sometimes. But I absolutely love this set. And it should be up in the shop when you see this on YouTube. And I will see you next week. God bless you. God keep you safe. I hope you've had a great time because I have. Kathryn, circleartdesigns.net. God bless y'all.